New Zealand, we've got this thing called the number 8 wire mentality, and so number 8 wire, it's just basic fencing wire. What farmers make their fences out, they put in the post, string some number 8 wire along, and it's just this real simple solution, I guess, to farming that's low cost but very effective. So I guess that's a philosophy we take on also in some ways. You're finding solutions that are, the easiest solution for the job that gets the job done, but without overcomplicating things.
It's basically making do with what you have, and that inherently has been a bit of a trait over the years, and certainly probably more in the earlier days where you just had to deal with what you had. But that philosophy still is within the team now, even though we have the means to use whatever equipment we like in the world. All of the teams are running at a level now where we really can ensure we're using the best possible equipment available. So one example of that was back when we first started foiling. We had a very, very small budget to adapt an old catamaran to try and tow it with a powerboat, and put some very, very simple aluminium extrusion foils and to see if we could make this thing fly. Towing this thing, it was quite a shambles, but we did make this thing fly, and then that was the catalyst after this initial idea to see if we could prove it in a very simple experiment, and then after that initial testing and proving in reality we could do it, then we put all of our effort to go down that path.
Kiwis as they head across the start. French seemingly being edged out.
The sport is part of their life. It's part of their culture. They have a very unique way of doing things. They're just down to the result. And whatever it takes, whatever they have, they work with that and they try to make it work.
We don't just go and buy a table or we build a table, we don't just go buy a system off the shelf. We'll come up with our own one, and whether it be we've got to make a shelving rack in one container, we'll build it ourselves, or whether it be a new system on the boat, we think, well, there's probably a better way to do it, and we've got this part from here and this part from here. We're probably still using parts from 10 years ago on this boat. So we're quite resourceful.
From living in a smaller place on the bottom of the earth, and it's been, I suppose, amazing to be able to compete with some of the biggest nations with huge budgets and get the better of them.
Amazing boat for us in the last America's Cup, and the team's stepped on a long way since the last campaign.
The unique mindset of the New Zealanders, in my opinion, comes from the fact that everyone goes sailing on that little island lost in the middle of the ocean. They concentrated on few things that were naturally available for them, and sailing is definitely one of these.
How we've advanced technology-wise, I always think it's not by accident, but it's by necessity. And I think if you look at some of our sporting successes in certain areas, I think that idea of focusing on what's really important is a Kiwi thing. Teams can have all the money in the world, and that can almost be their downfall, because having a restricted budget and knowing that it's only this big, it often causes a lot more discussion and thought before you commit to something. Otherwise, you could be going off from 20 different areas with different philosophies and areas and look at all of them. You can't buy the America's Cup. It's not money that's going to win you the America's Cup. It's time and people.